Hey everyone, welcome back to All Things Art. My name is Eric, and welcome back to another episode of What's New? What's new with STL files? What's new with 3D printing? Each month, these Patreon groups release new characters, new files for us to print at home, or you can contact to have someone print them for you. But basically, an STL file is a digital file. It's a file extension. It's something that a digital sculptor would save his file as. He saves it as an STL file. This way, we at home can now take that file and print it on our 3D printers. If you ever need something 3D printed or painted, my commission list is open. You can contact me. My info is in the video description down below. So if you ever want anything printed or painted, feel free to contact me anytime. But I want to quickly get through this intro because we have a ton of characters to look at. And quick spoiler, all of the characters, all of the sculpts came out amazing this month. This month, I featured two new groups. I have CA3D Studios as well as Zez Studios on top of the two groups that I love to print, which is B3D Zerk or Berserk and Wicked. So with that said, tons of characters to look at this month. Wolverine, Sabertooth, Batman, Catwoman, Goro from Mortal Kombat, and more. There's tons to look at this month, so I want to get straight to it. So we're going to review the files. Just real quickly, I'll be doing this every month, so if you want to get notified of new STL files, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell notification. This way you're notified of what's being released each month. So let's get straight to it, and I'll let you know what I think of this month's files. Okay, so let's take a look at our first set of files. This is going to be one of my favorites. This is Wolverine versus Sabertooth. We get multiple takes on this one, multiple concepts. So basically the first one, we have Wolverine facing off against Sabertooth with Wolverine on top of him about to strike him. And then we also have another version where they are both standing back to back. I kind of like both of these. If I had to choose which one to print, I might lean more towards the one to where they're back to back. I just think it's different. I've really never seen anything like that. The other one kind of reminds me where Wolverine is facing off against Hulk. So I really like the one to where they're back to back. But overall, I think they both came out really good. So let's start off with the one where they're facing off against each other. So you have Wolverine up top striking down on Sabertooth. I like the concept. I like the pose. I think everything looks good. I like the sculpt. With the base, you have this snow effect on the base. I'm seeing a little bit of like foliage on the bottom with leaves, with some rock work. And then what appears to almost look like smoke coming off of the base with those swirls on the right side. So I'm not really too sure what that is. So that might be a little bit of a miss in my opinion. But overall, I think everything else looks pretty cool. I've seen a lot of bases to where they have snow on them, but I've never seen someone do a base that had snow on top of actual, like I said, like the foliage of the leaves. So I like that. That's new. I've never seen something like that done before. You also have the X-Men logo on the base. So very nice with that. Let's take a closer look at Wolverine as well as Sabertooth, and we'll take a look at the sculpt and the details to see how those came out. So here's a closer looking image. We get to see the details a little bit better now. Overall, it looks good. I don't see anything right off the bat that I think looks terrible. You can see that Wolverine's knee keys into Sabertooth's leg. Pretty smart the way they put the snow on top of his knee to hide the key seam there. This way there's no noticeable gaps or anything like that. It's a little weird to have snow there, but I see why they did it. So, I mean, if you had to put something there, why not put the snow? So it's a little strange to have snow on top of his knee right there, but it is what it is. I think it was a smart choice. If it had to choose between having snow on his knee or being able to see the key coming off of his leg from Wolverine, I'd rather see the snow. Let's overall on Sabertooth's fur, looks really good. It looks nicely sculpted. It looks like fur. I like, the bearded hair. The hair on Sabertooth looks very natural. His claws look really good, nice and sharp. The textures on, let's start with Sabertooth, look really good. The design in general, I like the costume. Everything's looking good. On Wolverine, same thing. You have those like leather textures on his suit. Looks really nice. He's got some scratch marks on his bicep from battle. So we got some battle damage going on. The claws look good. So overall, I'm happy with what I'm seeing so far. Let's move on to the next picture. Here's an up-close picture of Wolverine's portrait. So now we really get to see what's going on with the textures. So on the actual Wolverine cowl, you have a smaller texture design to make it look like the leathers, a little bit more on the smaller side. On the top of his head, it kind of has like a canvas texture. So really smart the way they did that compared to the body. The body's bigger, so the body's going to have a bigger texture with the leather. So smart design choice as far as, texturizing the sculpt. Like I said, you got the canvas on top of the head. That looks good. As for the face does have the pores with the textures. The teeth look really good. The mouth area looks really good. The gnarl on his face looks intense. He looks angry. I've seen a lot of sculpts with Wolverine to where they don't get that right and his face just looks funny. Sometimes he looks a little too animalistic and it just doesn't look like a natural human snarling. So I think they nailed the face sculpt on Wolverine. Let's see. The textures on the skin. Yeah, he's got a little bit of like a wrinkly looking skin. They might have went a little bit overboard on the texture with the skin. Let's look at another photo. So the next photo I have is actually a grayscale render of Wolverine. When I'm reviewing files, I actually prefer to see the grayscale. This way there's no, nothing was hidden, nothing was improved by adding color. Sometimes color can trick the eyes into seeing things that aren't there, or they go in and they photo enhance the images. So I prefer to see the grayscale. I wish they would show more grayscale images. But at least we have this one. We have a full up-close image of Wolverine in grayscale. So we really get to see the sculpt now. We really get to see the sculpt of the teeth. Looks really great. You can see the tongue. Even the tongue has texture on it. Overall, I think they did a really great job with the sculpt of Wolverine's face. I've seen a lot of companies, including licensed companies, to where they get that wrong. So very well done by the sculptor, whoever sculpted this. Same thing, we have an up-close photo of Sabertooth. And again, it's in grayscale, so we really get to see all of the details with the big bushy eyebrows. The intense snarl on his face. It's all scrunched up. Looks very natural, very realistic. The way the hair was sculpted looks really cool. So again, looks really great. I like the sculpt of Sabertooth's face. Moving along, so now you have another option. If you didn't want them facing off against each other, there's another option to have them kind of like teamed up together. So now this is a photo of them back to back. You have Wolverine and Sabertooth kind of, back to back, getting ready to take on whoever they're fighting. And I really like this one a lot. If I had to choose one, like I said, it would probably be this one. So I'm assuming the sculpt is going to be the same. They just repositioned the models. So I'm not going to go over the whole entire thing again. But overall, yeah, I think this was very well done. Everything looks natural. The sculpt looks natural. The only thing, like I said, on the base, it looks like some type of, I don't know, it's like a smoky effect. I don't know, maybe it's supposed to be like fog. I'm not sure what they were going for with that, but it looks cool. Maybe the designer can comment and just let us know what that's supposed to be. But otherwise, I like it. It's a cool concept. Like I said, I like the snowy base. And I like the actual sub base with the X-Men logo and a little bit of a, futuristic architectural, sub base details going on down there. So they look cool back to back. I like this. Let's move on to the next photo. Let's see. We're going to have different angles of the ones where they're facing off back to back. On this one, we can see more of Wolverine. Wolverine is now facing forward. So we get to see the details from the front. Looks really great. I do like what I'm seeing so far. Let's just scroll around. I don't want to waste too much time because I do have a lot of photos of these guys. So there is also an unmasked portrait for Wolverine. So on this, it looks a little strange right now, maybe because the eyes aren't painted, or maybe, I don't know, if you did decide to have this painted, you would leave the eyes whited out like that. I don't know, that's up to you, that's your choice, but it's not my favorite portrait, but I don't hate it. If I had to, display this, I would display it with Wolverine with the cowl. But it looks good. I think they did the facial expression really nice. Again, I've seen where even licensed companies do this unmasked Logan portrait, and it just comes out terrible. So I think they did a really good job with the portraits. You can see, like, in this pose, his belt now, as well as like the textures running throughout his legs. So everything looks really cool. Let's move on to another photo. From this angle, now we get to see more of Sabertooth. Again, I don't want to get too repetitive because it's the same thing over and over again, but again, it's looking good from this angle. With this specific model, I'm extremely happy with it. I think everything turned out really great. We're getting to see the sculpt from all different angles, and everything's looking really cool. So I'll just scroll through these images real quick so you get to see it from every angle. Then really quick, we have another option. So like I said, each month they'll do a full figure and then they'll do a bust. So on this, we have a bust version of a Dio. So it's them back to back, but in a bust form to where it's cut off at the waist. You don't get to see the legs. So if you didn't want a model, too tall or too big, you can opt to print just the bust. And again, the bust looks really cool. It's just a shorter version of the full-scale model. So let's scroll through the bust options here. So again, you can have them back to back, and I'll just quickly scroll through the images so we don't waste too much time on these two guys. Looks really cool. I really like the bust as well. I think they did a really great job with the concept and the sculpt. They both look really intense and really enraged, and yeah, like I said, great job with the sculpt. Now there's also an option. I don't see an option to have just one of them on the base. Like if you wanted just Wolverine on the base or just Sabertooth on the base, maybe that is an option. I just don't have those pictures, but there is an option for the bust to have one of them on the base. So here's a picture of just Wolverine on the base by himself. Looks really great. Hopefully there's an option for a full figure, because I would like to see them by themselves as a full figure too, if you didn't want like a diorama. You got to keep in mind with the diorama, sometimes it's a little tricky to display them, from a good angle, because now you have two characters back to back. As cool as it looks, sometimes you just want the one character. So here's a bust of just Wolverine by himself. Looks really great. Again, very similar concept. They're just changing the poses a little bit. So different angles of Wolverine on the base as a bust version. Everything looks really great. And then you also have the option to do just Sabertooth on the base as a bust. So again, looks really great. You could also, I guess, pair those two together. If you didn't want to have a Dio of the two of them on the base together, you can print them separate and have them side by side. So really crazy looking face on Sabertooth here on the bust. I really like that. Again, this is one of my favorite files of the month. I think this came out really cool, and would love to print or paint one of these. If anybody wants one painted, would love to work on one of these. Looks really awesome. Okay, and our next model is going to be Goro from Mortal Kombat, and this is by Zez Studios. The Wolverine, by the way, the Wolverine and Sabertooth was by Wicked. If you were interested to know who that was by, the info is usually on the bottom of the image. Or you can always contact me if you need to. If you need more info on the files, just feel free to reach out to me. But if I was a huge Mortal Kombat fan, this would actually be my favorite file of the month. I absolutely love this Goro. He looks intense. So Goro is a huge character. And if you had to print one of these in a larger, like quarter scale or third scale, he's going to be massive. But this is probably one of the best Goro sculpts that I've ever seen. I haven't seen too many. Not too many companies make a Goro statue, but this has to be one of my favorites. So we have The introduction here with the name Goro, Mortal Kombat, kind of like teasing it coming soon. The grayscale, which like I love seeing the grayscale, so we get to see all the details. And if you could see, he is squishing Scorpion's head with a Scorpion's spine ripped out of the body. So really cool concept. So let's dive into this because this is absolutely insane looking. All right, let's get a full figure of him. I have grayscale renders of this guy as well as color renders, so it's really cool. I like to see both of those. So here he is. Here you get to see the full figure. It's Goro squishing Scorpion's head. Basically ripped his head off of his body. His other arms are flexing, holding a chain. And then he's in a museum pose, standing on the base. The base has skulls on it. It has chains on it. He's holding a chain. And everything looks absolutely intense and scary and fantastic on this. I absolutely love this model. And watch when we get to the color renders, you really get to see like all the blood effects that you could add to this if you decide to have one painted. So let's scroll through these images and get some up close shots. Real quick, here's a look at the back of him. So again, you have, Goro obviously has the multiple arms. You get to see a better look at the base right now. So the base is full of skulls. Looks really good. Again, he's holding the chain weapon with the spear on it. Looks really good. I like everything I'm seeing so far. Let's get some up close shots. Okay, so here's an up close shot of Goro now squishing Scorpion. We get to see it up close better. We get to see the details. The texture on the skin looks really good. You get all the little skin pores. The facial expression looks really good. The hair strands look really good. A lot of detail in the hair, so that looks good. Even in Scorpion's face, tons of details and textures going on with the mask and the textures. One thing I want to point out is Scorpion's face. The way his face is getting squished and the expression was done perfect, in my opinion. They absolutely nailed the expression of like somebody's face getting squished. He's got one eye kind of like squinted, like it's hurting, and then he's basically got the other eye that looks like it's about to bulge out of his face. So they absolutely nailed that perfectly. I really like the way they did that. So again, you got a lot of different textures going out throughout the costume and the skin. It's Goro. He's it doesn't have much of a costume. He's pretty much half naked, so you're gonna have a lot of skin textures. But yeah, the expression looks really great. Let's scroll through some photos. Here's an up close photo of the Scorpion face. So now we get to see the better expression of Scorpion's face, which was what I was talking about. The fabric coming off of his neck, which was like, ripped from his body, looks really great. Has a nice fabric texture to it. The spinal cord looks really great. Really nice sculpt. So everything is looking really cool on this. Let's move to another photo. Here we have a better look at that base with the skulls and the chains wrapped around it. So again, looks really cool. The bandages wrapped around his leg and on his ankle looks really great. Looks like bandages to me. So everything's looking really, realistic. So I like the way that came out. Again, like I said, we also have color renders. Let me just scroll through the gray renders real quick. So here's another angle of the full figure off from the side. Really impressive. Really great work by this. What was this? Yeah, by Zez Studios. All right, so let's dive into the color renders. So here's the first color render. Again, this is going to be the up-close picture of Scorpion's face. So you really get to see the intensity in his eyes, like his eyes are bloodshot. Just even the folds in the skin, like you see the folds in his forehead, like it's just collapsing and being squished. Really well done. I really love the way this came out. Now we get to see more of like the texture in the skin now that it's colored. Really great job sculpting the skin. Ton of veins going throughout the body. It looks really great. Again, with the portrait on Goro. Again, I'm not going to spend too much time because it's just, there's so much to look at. I really love this. The details in the hands, the way they sculpted all the wrinkles and textures, looks very realistic to like a human anatomy as far as like the skin goes. So let's scroll through some different angles. Here's more of like an overview from above of him squishing Scorpion's head. So we get to see more of like Goro's flex and really all the muscles bulging out from his chest and his shoulders, show off his strength. He looks huge. Looks absolutely fantastic. Again, I would love to paint one of these if somebody wants one of these painted. Just keep in mind, he is a big character and this would be a big model. Here's another angle of a color render. This way we get to see the other side, more of like the chain and the spear hanging down, all the veins shooting down his leg. The anatomy looks really great. He doesn't look, over muscular. Everything looks anatomically correct to me. So really great job with the sculpt and the portraits. Here's a color render from behind. So now you're getting to see more of like that textured, like crazy texture on his back. Looks a little bit like reptilian. So let's see. Again, everything's looking really cool. I like the way this was painted. I would actually use this as a reference if I had to paint one of these, because I do like the color choices that they used. Excuse me. Base looks really cool. I like the glow effects on the base. Let's see if I have an up-close shot of that. All right, yeah, from here you get to see more of, I guess it's like lava coming off of the base. Sorry, it's been a while since I've played Mortal Kombat or followed Mortal Kombat. So forgive me if I'm not too knowledged. I know the character, I just don't know all the details sometimes. But yeah, you got some type of lava effect coming off of the base. Looks really great. Again, different angles of this color render. Let's see if we got anything different to look at. All right, here's a better shot at his back. So you're really getting to see, like, again, I apologize. To me, it looks reptilian. So you get to really see all those reptilian scales on his back. Looks really cool. On the color renders, they did like artificial lighting to make it look like his body is being lit from the lava effect on the base. So if you did want one of these painted, that is an option to add like a little bit of like an artificial enhanced lighting, make it look like his body's kind of glowing from the base. So that can be done if anyone ever wanted one of these painted. So I do like the way they did that. It's a nice little detail. Again, just different angles. Really like the pose on this. It's a simple museum pose, but it also shows off his strength, and it's also, he's doing something cool. You got like Scorpion's head being ripped out. So simple museum pose, but looks really awesome. All right, I think that's going to be it for Scorpion. So this is actually the promo from Zez Studios. So they had, this was January's term, or January's lineup. We had Goro, we had Scorpion, and we had Venom. At the time of filming this, I don't have anything for Venom. They did say that they're showing Venom in this picture. That's technically not the pose or how he may look in the final rendition. This is just showing you that they will be working on a Venom. So at the moment, I don't have Venom. So when he does come out, I will feature him in next month. So stay tuned for that. Let's move on to the next character. So the next character file that we have, I don't know too much about the character, but this is by CA3D Studio, or I call them CAD Studio. Basically, I believe this is from Metal Gear Solid. If that's incorrect, I'll fix it in a title on the description of the video. But I believe her name is Quiet, if I remember correctly. Sorry, I don't have the info in front of me right now, but I'll add it to the video if that's wrong. But yeah, like I said, I don't know the character too much, so I'm not going to comment on her too much as far as if I think it looks like her. But I'll just comment on what I see, and I'll tell you if I think it looks okay. As far as the sculpt looks good, and as far as the anatomy looking good, I think it looks came out great. Simple museum pose with her holding the rifle. So very cool, very basic rock work on the back. So on this, we get to see a little bit of an animated spin of her spinning around. And then I also have, I think, 1 or 2 more photos of her. So again, I don't have the gray renders. I don't know if this was enhanced to look better. I wish I had the gray renders. So again, I don't really like to comment too much when all I have is color renders to go by. But let's quickly scroll through these photos. I think the portrait is very pretty. Again, the rifle looks pretty accurate to me. Overall, you know, she's strapped up with the military straps and the pouches around her waist. It's obviously a, you know, sexualized character. The leather gloves up to her arms. The texture is a little interesting on the pants to me. Kind of looks maybe like a leather. I don't know if that's accurate to her costume. I don't know. To me, the texture looks like, well, I should say, to me, the fabric looks like it would have been spandex, but the texture looks like leather, if that makes sense. So I don't know if I like the texture. Again, maybe it's correct. I don't know. So I'm not going to comment too much on what's correct and what's not correct. But let's just scroll through the photos real quick because I did want to feature them. I think overall she does look good. So yeah, we just have different color renditions of her. So again, I'll just quickly scroll through it. It's a simple museum pose with her posing with the rifle, you know, sniper rifle on top of a rock base. I do like the design of the base, how it comes up a little bit and then just collapses down and is kind of like broken off. So I do like the design of the base. And like I said, yeah, overall, I think she looks good. So I'm just going to quickly scroll through this. It's nothing too exciting, but if you're a fan of this character, it's cool that she's being made. And then we also have the breakdown of the STL file. So this is how it would be parted, meaning like this is how it comes when you have to go to print it. So the boots are separate, the legs are one piece, you know, the gun is one piece. Her portrait is attached to the chest, and that's how it keys in. The chest and the portrait key into the torso. So basically each color would be a different part that you would print. So when you see these renditions where they're in all different colors, each color is representing a different part, that how you assemble it. So very cool. I like seeing when they do that. So I appreciate that they did that. The base is one simple piece. So I do like that they did that. Excuse me. I wish more companies would show the breakout. Usually that type of breakout with the color rendition of each part is within the files, which I don't always have right away unless I download them. Let's see. So that was, I believe, like I said, Quiet from Metal Gear Solid. And if that's wrong, I will correct it. Up next, our next character is going to be a really cool one, and this is Iron Fist from Marvel Comics. So now this one is also very interesting because you have multiple layouts that you can do with this character, and I'll show you what I mean as we go through them. So again, this is Iron Fist. Oh, maybe you can already see on the base. It's Power Man and Iron Fist, Luke Cage. You have the option for both of them, but we'll get there. Let's go through the photos. Let's start with Iron Fist. So this is by Wicked, one of my favorite groups when it comes to sculpting. So this thing looks absolutely fantastic, absolutely incredible. I always love everything they do as far as like the details and the textures and the sculpt goes. Everything always looks very natural to me for the most part with their work. So we have Iron Fist, you know, showing off his power with the dragon wrapped around his body, and then you got the dragon head on top. So really cool looking. You do get a lot of his body covered by the dragon, so keep that in mind if this is something you plan on displaying. If you have the model displayed up high on a shelf, you might not see his face. So this is one of those pieces where you need the right angle to really make sure you're seeing the character. So keep that in mind if you plan on printing this and displaying him. But let's go through the photos. Here's another angle from the side of just Iron Fist. So we get to see more of the dragon wrapping around him. Everything looks really cool, has a really nice flow. I like the flow of the belt coming off of him. Has nice movement to it. The sub base, you do have a nameplate on the sub base, so if that's something that bothers you, you can either, you know, sculpt over it, or maybe it might be separate where you don't have to sculpt it at all. Not too much of a big of a deal, especially when it comes to 3D printing. You can change things around and get rid of that if you don't like the little logo on the bottom. But yeah, so like I said, here's another angle of him basically standing on a rock rubble base. He's got the dragon flowing around his body. So let's get into some more up-close photos. So here's an up-close photo of the portrait. So you get two portraits with this one. He's got more of like the enraged screaming face, which looks really good. And then you have the other face, kind of looks like almost reminds me of like a Bruce Lee, like when he's doing that karate, like, whoa, if that makes sense, sorry. But basically, like, if he was like screaming out, doing like, the karate move. I don't know, sorry, I don't know what it's called when they scream like that. But let's just get back into the sculpt. So the textures look really great on the his mask. Everything's looking good. It has like a little bit of like a canvas texture. Looks really nice with the fabric. Again, the pores on the skin look really good. The mouth, little interesting. I like the way they did the lips on the more karate screaming pose, maybe as opposed to the one on the left where he's just like anger screaming. I mean, I see what they were going for. It looks a little weird with the way the lips are kind of wrinkled and folded like that. Maybe it'll look different once it's painted. I might have colored portraits. Yeah, I believe, I do have colored portraits of this one, so we'll take a look at the colored renders as well. But yeah, so far everything's looking good. Here's another angle of the portrait. Again, you can see what I'm talking about with that bottom lip. So it's a little strange, but overall I think the whole thing looks great. So that's something that could be overlooked in my opinion. Let's just quickly scroll through the different angles of the portrait. Again, looks really great. Really great design. Here's one where he's screaming. So again, like I said, you have the two different portraits. All right, let's move on to this one here. Now you can see him a little bit better. This is a front-facing picture with him holding on to that dragon. So really cool concept. This would be a lot of fun to paint, especially with the dragon. I love painting dragons, so really cool piece. Let's see, which one is this? Okay, this is from behind, so we get to see how the statue looks from behind. Looks really good with the rock rubble. Everything looks nicely sculpted. Really like what they did with the dragon, with everything, the scales coming off of him. Looks really cool. Everything has like a nice flow to this. So now what's really cool is, before we get to Power Man, aka Luke Cage, what you can do is you can have both of them on the base together, I believe. Let's see if I have that. Yeah. So here they are together. So now you can display Luke Cage with Iron Fist on the base, and then Luke Cage has this massive car above his head. So that one would be interesting to print. But the car looks really cool. It's an old Cadillac. It's got like bullet holes going through the doors, being shot up. Kind of looks like he's taking protection from oncoming fire. The base is really cool. You have all this rubble with the fire hydrant and the cone. There's a garbage can in there. All different aspects going on into the base. So let's grab this from another angle. Here they are up close. You get a better look at Luke Cage now. I do have a little bit of a nitpick with Luke Cage's costume, specifically the fabric. To me, the fabric looks a little unnatural, the way they did the creases and the folds. I see what they were going for, but I think they kind of like just overdid it with the creases and folds in the fabric, coming down near his, his torso, his upper torso. Same thing with the wrinkles around his neck. I get what they were going for, but I think it might be a little overdone as far as adding that many wrinkles into his neck. And we'll go through more photos and I'll show you what I mean. But Luke Cage also has two portraits. So here's a look at that. He's got the chain around his waist, wearing the jeans. Let's see. Here's a look again at Luke Cage's portrait. I personally do not love this portrait, but it does come with two of them. So if you don't like this one, you can swap it out for another. But again, I feel like, like I said, the sculpt on his clothes was just quickly done. It takes a lot of studying and dedication to really know the way how folds and fabric stretches. To me, this just feels like it was just done for the sake of being done. Like, let's throw a fold here, let's, you know, throw a crease there, especially if you're looking at his left arm right now. It's just, it looks a little out of place to me. It's not the worst thing in the world, but it looks a little out of place. And I don't love the portrait on this too much, but hey, you know, art is subjective. Maybe you like it, but I don't. Let's look at, I also have gray renders of Luke Cage. So let's get, because I don't like the portrait so much. I do like this portrait. So here's a grayscale of the alternate portrait. Again, you can see those has tons of creases in his neck. I don't love that, but I do think this portrait came out really great. I like the expression on this portrait more. But yeah, the skin pores, the mouth area, everything looks like it was sculpted nicely. So now you also do have the option. Here's another look at the other portrait, more with the afro curl. I think the afro curl was actually sculpted really well. It looks like a real afro, you know, hair, like the way it's like bushy and textured like that. So really nice job on the sculpt of the afro. It's not my favorite portrait, but it came out great as far as like sculpting that the hair goes. So now the same way that you can have Iron Fist by himself, you can have Luke Cage by himself. So if you just wanted to print Luke Cage by himself, you would have to print him. This is how he comes with the car. So keep that in mind. This car is going to take up a lot of room, and I would imagine it's probably something that's very difficult to print. Personally, I've never tried printing a car, but it does look a little complex from what I can see, but it looks cool overall. I do have one little nitpick. I see why it was done, and I'll show you from a different angle, but it looks a little funky the way the car is displayed if you're looking at it from behind. Let me see if I can find that photo. So here's the car from behind, and I get it. Listen, he's not going to be able to hold up the car on his own. They need a support to hold up the car to help it from falling. So they use the base to help hold up the car. So from behind, it looks a little silly. You're obviously never going to display it from this angle, but at least it shows you a better picture of the car. I think the car was sculpted very nicely. Looks like it has that vinyl top on top of the car. So it's got the old, you know, Cadillac style. Looks really great. So from behind, like I said, it looks like right now the car is resting on top of the wall. But going back to the other photo, when you have it from this angle, it looks like Luke Cage is lifting the car. So it works overall. Like I said, you're never going to display it from behind like that. So let's just scroll through those photos real quick. Here's another angle of Luke lifting the car. So we get to see more underneath of the car. Obviously with the car, you're not going to get every single mechanical part. But I think overall they did a good job with the bottom. You can see the muffler and different areas of the axle and stuff. So I think you get enough details on the car that it works. It doesn't look like, you know, too cheap like a toy. You do get a decent amount of details on the bottom of the car. And I think, yeah, it looks good. It looks like he's actually lifting the car. It works with the base. Let's move on to another picture. And the last picture of this model is just going to be the two of them back on the base together. And like I said, overall, I think the model looks good. It's a very cool diorama. So if you were interested in printing something like this, it looks, I think it looks cool overall. Like I said, I have a few nitpicks with Luke Cage's shirt, but I think everything else looks pretty decent. So very great job there by Wicked. Let's move on to our next model. Our next model is a company, or I should say group, that I'm not too familiar with, but I came across them and I wanted to feature them in this video. It's Panarello, STL, and you can find them on Patreon. But I wanted to feature this because I've seen a lot of Hulk statues, both licensed and unlicensed, and I think that, like, this is one of my favorite. A lot of times I feel like when sculptors do the Hulk, they make them maybe a little bit too big. Maybe the hands are too big, or the body's too big, and the muscles are over bulged and just don't make sense. This to me looks like the perfect Hulk. I like the pose. I like the rage going through him. I feel like anatomically everything looks in place. The muscles look great. It's not overdone. He looks big and muscular. You can see all the veins going throughout his body. I like the base with the rubble coming outward. Gives it a nice flow and a nice shape. So let's scroll through these photos. Like I said, I'm not familiar with the group and the work they do, but as far as this Hulk goes, I think they really nailed it. So again, you got a lot of different textures on the skin. Looks really great. Tons of veins, ripping through the body that were sculpted in. Let's just scroll through the photos. I really like the portrait. He's got that rage face. So I think overall it was really well done. And just wanted to throw this in there to show you guys. Here's a look from behind. Again, really nice job with the sculpt. Like if I was a Hulk fan, this would be one I would definitely want in my collection. I think it's perfect. Like if I had to only have one Hulk, this might be the one. I'm not a huge Hulk fan, but I really like this model. And again, we get that color breakdown of how the parts come. They're even showing you the parts separate. So again, if you ever see this on like a 3D STL file group and you see the color breakdown, that's just telling you how the file prints in different parts. So the arm is separate, the legs are separate, the base is separate, the portrait's separate, and the torso, upper body, they're showing you how it breaks down for printing, which is always nice. I like to see that. I like to see that early in advance before I download it, because sometimes it lets you understand if it'll even fit on your printer. Not everybody has huge printers to where we can print a huge model. So being able to see it broken down, and we can kind of like plan in our heads whether these parts are going to fit on our printer, really helps. So I like seeing the color breakdown ahead of time before downloading the file. So again, that was by Panarello Studios, if that's what they go by. But yeah, you can find them on Patreon. Really cool model. Let's get to our next model. So our next model was actually featured last month, but at the time I did not have the files for the bust. So if you remember, or if you follow these groups, this is B3D Zerk or Berserk. So each month they do a full figure as well as a bust. So here's a look at the Green Lantern as well as the Superman busts. I already reviewed these last month, so if you want to see the review on the full figures of these guys, check out last month's video. I'm not going to spend any time on these guys other than flipping through the photo and showing you what the busts look like. But they came out really great for the Green Lantern. So here's, I'm just going to quickly scroll through the images of Green Lantern. So you have that angle. You have this angle. He's holding a massive gun, which looks freaking crazy. I would want to print this. It looks absolutely insane, the gun that he's holding. But yeah, it looks really badass and cool. So there was that one for Green Lantern. You had a few different renders of his portrait. So scrolling through the images of his portrait, again, everything looks great. Like I said, I already covered this last month. I'm just showing you that they did finally release the bust. Here's more of a simplistic version of the bust for Green Lantern. If you didn't want that massive gun, in my opinion, you got to print that gun. How can you not print that gun? It looks awesome. Now as Superman, this was the Red Sun Superman. I'm just going to, very simple looking bust. I'm just going to quickly scroll through the images for Superman. And then finally, they gave us another bust, which I am not a fan of. It's a little weird. It says he's watching you, Superman, Red Sun, but I don't know. Hey, if you're into it, why not? It's another option. And then lastly, we have something really cool. I just don't have all the pictures yet. At the time of filming this, it's a little bit past midway January. I believe they're releasing this January 31st. So I will feature it in my next video. I'm headed to MegaCon in Florida at the end of the month, so I don't have time to do this video at the end of the month, so I'm filming it a little early. So this will be a little bit of a cliffhanger for next month's video. I'll get to feature this, but it's Batman and Catwoman. It's a diorama by B3D Zerk, Berserk. Looks absolutely fantastic. I have 2 images I'll show you, and then we'll leave off on that, and then I'll see you next month. So thanks for watching, guys. If you, like I said, if you need anything printed or painted, or if you want to see up close photos of higher renditions of the photos, visit my Instagram, visit my Facebook. I upload all the pictures and images of the files so you could see them better. It's All Things Art on Instagram. It's All Things Art on Facebook. I'll leave the links in the video description down below so you can see the high res images and everything on your own time if you want to take a closer look at these files and images of the characters. But yeah, moving forward, Batman and Catwoman, I'll have the full set of photos for next month. So stay tuned. Don't forget to subscribe and get notified. Thanks for watching today's video, and I'll see you next time. Take care.